Welcome to This Wild Journey, the podcast where your body, your brain, and your battle plan come together. If you're reeling from betrayal trauma, drowning in the chaos of divorce or custody court, feeling overwhelmed by post-trauma parenting, you are in the right place. We're here to untangle hard truths that bring clarity and courage so you can reclaim your power, protect your peace, and resolve trauma without reliving it. Let's get to work. Welcome back to This Wild Journey, where we help protective parents go from chaos to clarity with court-ready strategies and somatic tools that actually work.
And I'm Bren Wise Mays, your nervous system translator, here with Sarah McDugal, high conflict communication strategist and fierce advocate for protective parents.
And today we're bringing you another installment in our beloved family movie night series. So if you're looking for a film you can watch with your kids, but still walk away with deep conversations about safety and trust and belonging, stick around and keep listening.
Today's film is The Wild Robot. And wow, we've got a lot to say about this one.
Yes, we definitely do. We loved watching this one together. But just in case some of our listeners, Bren, may not be familiar with this one, because it's not like a family household name like The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast, where everyone's guaranteed to know the storyline. Let me give a 30-second summary before we dig into this. So, in The Wild Robot, a service robot named Roz, or as she begins introducing herself, Rosum Unit 7134, is shipwrecked on a remote and uninhabited island, except for lots of little woodland creatures. She wakes up among wild animals who at first treat her as a monster. She's unfamiliar and scary. And over time, Roz learns to adapt. She masters survival skills, she builds shelter, she develops meaningful relationships with creatures around her. And she finds an orphaned gosling that she names Brightbill. He imprints on her. She becomes his mother figure, and she has to teach him how to fly, swim, and live in the wild. Later in the story, as humans and other robots try to reclaim Roz, she is placed in a situation where she has to protect her new friends and she has to make hard choices about belonging and sacrifice and her identity. And in the end, her kindness and love reshape her and everyone around her. It is a beautiful, sweet, innocent, but very emotionally and psychologically deep story.
Okay, Sarah, let's just start here. Roz is a literal robot. She's dumped into a wild landscape that doesn't want her, doesn't understand her, and definitely doesn't make it easy for her to survive. And yet somehow this mechanical outsider becomes the emotional center of the story. So why do you think so many protective parents resonate with her?
Well, honestly, because Roz is all of us, especially if you've ever felt like the legal system, the whole system was designed for someone else, anyone else. Roz is dropped into this harsh, unfamiliar world with zero instructions and a crushing sense of obligation to complete a task. I could not relate. I mean, wait, yeah, it's like they're stalking me, right? But also, no one has told her what her task is. She wasn't built for this environment, and yet she learns, she adapts, she survives, and not just for herself. What I love about the Wild Robot movie is that Roz becomes a fierce protector for others too. And that is something I really resonate with. I resonate with it.
Resonate.
Anyway, sorry. As I digress. Anyway, but for so many of the protective parents that I work with, that's really the journey. Family court doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel reasonable. It doesn't make sense. It feels like you're trapped in a system that wasn't made with you in mind, certainly wasn't made with your kids' well being in mind. And in the meantime, you're still expected to know the language and understand the expectations and meet the requirements, but then nobody gives you a playbook. And you're supposed to be doing what's best for your kids while the other side fights dirty.
Right. You said something recently that stuck with me, that Roz sacrifices herself as a mother not because she's required to, but because she chooses self-sacrificial love, even when it costs her everything.
Yeah. I mean, that right there is exactly what makes her character in The Wild Robot such a powerful metaphor. And honestly, it applies to a lot of our neurodivergent protective parents too.
Absolutely.
I mean, in the movie, Roz wasn't programmed for typical human emotion. She's literal and black and white. She's concrete. She's different. She does not fit the mold of what the island expects where her transport ship crashed, but she wants to do things right. And no matter how hard she tries, she just seems to keep getting it all wrong. And then when she rescues the gosling that she names Brightbill, he's tiny and helpless and he's lost everything. And Roz chooses, she chooses love. By the end, we see how she embodies living sacrifice for the well being of those around her. And you know, Bren, I see this every single day with the parents in our coaching programs. They're often treated like they're either not warm enough or too emotional or too aggressive in court. But what the system doesn't see is their sacrificial consistency and their non-stop commitment to their kids' safety and well-being behind closed doors.
I want to dig into that because the court often rewards charm over character. So,
Mhm.
what do we see in Roz's story about earning trust in a system that doesn't recognize your worth at first?
Well, for starters, Roz doesn't win anyone over with her
Nope.
charisma. She lacks in that area, but she earns trust gradually by being consistent. She observes, she adapts, she's teachable, even when she has messed everything up. She's humble and she seeks solutions. She shows up day after day, even when no one around believes in her. And that's what so many protective parents have to do. You're probably not going to be winning over the court with a flashy smile, and it's not going to work to just come in with a big sob story. You have to be documenting, you have to be protecting. You're proving your stability through tangible evidence, not emotion, not charm, not charisma. In the family court system, you prove that you're the safe parent, not by being perfect or flashy or telling a compelling narrative, but by being predictable and precise and truthful in your consistent protective actions.
Right. And the recons. Oh boy, we have to talk about
Oof.
those. They show up looking like official authority, but they're actually a huge threat. So what does that parallel for you?
Well, 1000%. They are every manipulative ex who charms the evaluator. They're every guardian ad litem or parenting coordinator who misses all the red flags. They're every system player who looks believable on paper, but then actually works to destabilize the protective parent and threaten the well being of the child just because they want things to match this formula that's outlined on paper of what's supposed to happen. When I watch this movie and I look at the recons coming in and saying, I am programmed to make you feel comfortable while I get you to do what I want to do. They speak this language of compliance and cooperation, but they don't see the real harm from the actual dangers on the ground. They just come in saying, this is how things are supposed to work, get in line, do it. And in doing so, they actually put Roz and Brightbill, her little child, in more danger, not less.
And then there's the way Roz ultimately sacrifices herself. She literally dismantles her body to protect her child. It's brutal. And it's also hauntingly familiar.
Yeah, it is. It is the soul of protective parenting in family
Hmm.
court. You're already trying to heal yourself. You're trying to rebuild after the trauma you've experienced. You're trying to raise your kids through the wreckage. And then the system demands even more. And because you're a protective parent, you give it. And it's not because you should have to, because none of us were made to carry these kinds of loads, but it's because love for your children gives you courage. It makes you brave and weary and worn out and deeply in need of solutions that can shift the reality of your case to something safer. All that being said, I just want to be clear that kind of parenting sacrifice is something we were never meant to carry. It should have never been
Mm.
required. And that's why we're so passionate about equipping protective parents with actual battle tested strategy tools, not just barely surviving tips.
I want to bring up Brightbill again for just a minute because there's this moment that hit me so hard. So as he gets older,
Okay.
he starts asking questions Roz never wanted to answer about his real parents, about what really happened the day he hatched into the world. And instead
Mhm.
of being grateful for how Roz saved him, he gets angry.
Yeah.
You know, he lashes out. He's hurt that she didn't tell him everything. He blames her and he wants nothing to do with it at all.
Yeah. And that dynamic is so real for so many protective parents at some point in the journey. So, especially when your kiddo reaches that middle school or teenage phase and they start questioning everything, they're going to want to know stuff like, why didn't you tell me sooner? Why didn't you stop what happened to me? Why didn't you protect me from the pain of the other parent's actions? Why did you leave? Why did you think it was so bad? Why did you tear up our
Mm,
family? Why didn't you leave sooner? Why did you let it happen for so long? I mean, depending on your child's actual lived experience and the dynamics in your particular story, those questions can range from one extreme to the other, but kids are going to have questions. And the truth that Roz lived, and so many of our listeners do too, is that she didn't hide the truth out of manipulation. She held back because Bright Bill wasn't developmentally ready to know.
mm,
And yet there's something funny at the beginning. At the beginning, when he's brand new and the trauma is super fresh of him having lost his family, she talks openly about it. She's blunt about it. And the fox tells her, don't, don't say anything.
mhm,
Don't talk about that. So she started out wanting to be super blunt and truthful, realizes, hey, developmentally, I have to pull this back. I have to carry this. And then later, she gets slammed by Bright Bill, her little gosling, because he doesn't understand. And in the interim, she carried the full weight of what happened on her own shoulders so that he didn't have to, at least not yet.
right. And when Brightbill gets angry, it's not because Roz failed him. It's because he doesn't yet realize he's only alive because she stepped in and saved him in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, that moment right there. That's where the heartbreak happens for so many protective parents and so many of our clients. Your child may grow up and feel betrayed by what you didn't say. They may project anger at you, even though you were not the Disney parent. You were the one who sacrificed everything to try and keep them safe.
Right.
And that is the impossible paradox of protective parenting. You sacrifice everything You hold the trauma carefully and quietly. You carry the backlash later, all so that your child has a chance to grow up without being completely crushed under the weight of what they weren't ready to
Yep.
carry.
Oz let Brightbill be a kid, at least until he was strong enough to hear hard things.
Exactly. And even when he was strong enough to hear hard things, he blew up about it.
Hmm.
And she had to hold space for that and figure out how to handle it, even though his anger deeply hurt her. And that is the line I think every protective parent walks: what to share, what to wait on, how to love well without loading your child down too soon, but also not gaslighting them out of the truth, and how to not share too many true things that will get you slammed with allegations of parental alienation. It's a tightrope.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let's wrap up with this. What do you want listeners to take away from Roz's story?
Well, first of all, I want to just throw out there this is the first in a series that we're going to talk about Wild Robot. We haven't even begun to scratch the
Mhm.
surface. So uh, definitely come back next week and listen to the next installment, because we're going to do 3 or 4 of these. There's just too much to unpack in here. But if you are a protective parent and you are in the court system and you've ever been told that you're too intense or too much or maybe even not enough, remember this: you don't need to be charming to be a good parent. You don't need a perfect presentation or deep pockets to be a fierce protector. You just need to keep showing up, keep documenting what is precisely true, and keep fighting for what is right, even if the system doesn't see everything clearly yet. And honestly, if you need help figuring out how to put all these things together in a way that the court recognizes and respects, there is real time support waiting for you in Freedom Navigator Basecamp, where I help clients save thousands in legal fees while getting safer outcomes in their custody cases. And the link for that waitlist is www.freedomnavigator.com, and it is also in the show notes.
That's it, friends. This was part of our family movie night series, and we've created a free family discussion guide to help you unpack The Wild Robot with your kids.
Yep, you can use it to spark real conversations about safety, trust, sacrifice, and what it means to belong. And you can download it free at www.thiswildjourneypodcast.com. It has age appropriate discussion questions and some somatic exercises to help regulate your kid's nervous system. And we've broken them down by age, from toddlers all the way up to teens.
And as always, remember, you don't have to walk this wild journey all alone.
Brought to you by Wilderness to Wild. www.thiswildjourneypodcast.com.